I know what it was like when I grew up in Shaw Avenue and Biddick All, and I'm always wanting to be a voice for people to make sure the people of the ward continue getting the best we can possibly get for them. Day in, day out, I hear from residents who are desperate for more for the children. It's not nearly what we had in the 90s and 80s and up until about 10 years ago. It's not good enough. For years, people in Biddick and All Saints haven't had a voice by the representatives, and now that they do, the Green Party were pushing for these things. We're standing up, and people suddenly feel like there's people there who are giving them a voice and are fighting for them.
Across the northeast, something powerful is shifting. Neighbours stepping up, communities taking ownership, and a new kind of politics taking shape. I'm Jonathan Elmer. This is Greens Rising, where we spotlight the people who refuse to accept that's just how it is. Today we're joined by Rachael Taylor, a Green councillor for the Biddick and All Saints ward in South Tyneside, the Green Group leader on South Tyneside Council, and a force of nature in her own right. She grew up in the ward she now represents, raised her family there, and has spent her life fighting for fairness, green spaces, youth facilities, and the people who often feel forgotten. Rachael's got that rare mix of compassion and steel, the kind of councillor who'll defend vulnerable neighbour one minute and take on a bad local plan the next. So if you want to hear what real rooted leadership sounds like, stick around. It's lovely to have you here, Rachael.
Thank you, and thank you for the introduction.
It's a pleasure. So, Rachael, you grew up in the ward that you now represent. You still live there. What's the emotional pull of that? What does it mean to serve the community that you actually grew up in?
It means everything to us, you know. Obviously, with living in the ward, I'm here every single day, and I know what it was like when I grew up in Shaw Avenue and Biddick All. And that was 45 years ago, and I knew what it was like then, and to think what it's like now, and I have them comparisons, and I'm always wanting to be a voice for people to make sure the people of the ward continue getting the best we can possibly get for them. I want it for the people of the ward, and I want it for my own family as well. I think it's really important that people who represent the ward come from the ward and live in the ward ideally as well, because you're there every single day and you see the issues.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, here's one issue that I know is a big concern to you from conversations we've had previously. So when you were little, there were youth clubs open every night of the week, and now they're gone, replaced by housing. So how much of your political fire comes from seeing your area stripped of those sorts of services?
Yeah, day in, day out, I hear from residents who are desperate for more for the children. The only thing that's there is a small container called the hut, and that's for youth provision for a couple of nights a week. And that's better than nothing, but it's not nearly what we had in the 90s and 80s, you know. So I'm pushing for standalone community buildings back in the ward. You know, it's not good enough to have to leave the area, which it's such a disadvantaged area as well, Biddick and All Saints, and a lot of people don't have cars. So if it's not on the doorstep, they're not going to go, and there's nothing for the children to do.
That's interesting, isn't it? Because so many modern large housing estates just don't seem to be properly served by the things you're talking about.
Yeah, that's right. For years, people in Biddick and All Saints haven't had a voice by the representatives, and now that they do, the Green Party were pushing for these things. We're standing up, we're raising the spotlight, and people suddenly feel like there's people there who are giving them a voice and are fighting for them.
And if there was a Green administration controlling the council, things might be a little bit different there.
Yeah, I definitely do. I know I'm often putting in sometimes supporting comments, sometimes objections to plan applications.
Yeah.
But it's always very much with the Green ethos, you know, because you've got to look at the bigger picture. And in the ward I represent, it's back onto Green Belt, and there was going to be a flyover built there, the Tilesheds flyover, and that's going to mean the decimation of a wildlife corridor, damage to grey-crested newt habitat, the removal of hundreds of trees of the Great North Forest. It's going to negatively affect the Tilesheds Nature Reserve, and it's going to go cutting straight through a triple SI site onto Boker Lane and heading towards East Bowling. That's all going to be decimated.
Yeah, and people sometimes come back at us and say, well, people need to live somewhere. There's got to be houses. What would you say to that?
I think it's just about thinking about these things better and the right kind of houses as well. It's social housing that we need above everything else. And it's really worrying that in the local plan that isn't prioritised, and it's barely even mentioned. It's linked with affordable housing and social housing together, whereas they're two very different entities, and it should be social housing we're pushing for, especially in South Tyneside, where it's quite a deprived area.
Well said. You've been a councillor for 2.5 years, but you've been an activist a lot longer than that. Animal rights, battery, eggs, protecting trees, campaigning since you were 18. If there was a golden thread that linked all of this together, what would you say drives you forwards?
Just the fact that I've always cared about things and always been aware that it's important that we don't sit back and say nothing when something's wrong.
Yes.
You know, that we make our voices heard and we'll stand up and be counted. I've always been aware. And it was even before I was 18, I was actually involved with stuff. I mean, I remember going down to Whitney, Oxfordshire at 17, you know, and it was because Hillgrove Cat Farm, where they were breeding cats of vivisection. I went there and I protested there, and I've still got all information where the police ended up telling me we weren't allowed to go within a 5-mile radius for so many days and all this. But it was like a badge of honour, and I was really proud that I've done that from the young age, and I haven't changed. I don't think you really do intrinsically change who you really are inside, and I've just always been aware that it's really important. And anyone who watches this as well, please get involved with local politics, because you do have power over things, and I've realised that.
Yeah, totally. It gets such a bad press and politicians are so mistrusted. But in the end, it's politicians that make the big decisions.
Yeah, I think it wasn't until I got older I realised how important it was to be involved with local politics, especially at a grassroots level. Even at the committees I'm on, where you're shaping policies, and this is things that's going to be filtered down into everyday life. And it's just so important to get involved and get the green agenda into everything, the social agenda, equality and everything. It's just all really passionate. You know, I'm really passionate about all these things.
You're a single mum of 5 children.
Yeah.
3 with autism. And now you're leading the Green Group on South Tyneside Council. How on earth do you manage to find time to fit all that together?
It can be very challenging. It can be really challenging. But again, it's just this feeling I've got that I'm needed, you know, because I'm aware that my views are really strong on so many different issues, you know, from trans rights to environmental things, social things. I'm because I've grew up in such a deprived area, and my mum's a single mother as well.
Yeah.
And we struggled, you know, and I'm very careful with my money and my children and everything, you know, you're always being careful. But it helps us with my council work, you know, having children who've got these additional needs. In the committees I'm on Education and Skills Committee, and I'm on Children and Young People Safeguarding as well. And my day-to-day life helps me with those committees, you know, because I see things from the SEND perspective and things that are happening there and challenges. And it really helps when you've got these lived experiences. And it drives me on, even though it could maybe set us back. It actually pushes us on, because I know that side needs a voice of someone who's got lived experience.
I think it's fantastic, actually, that you've become that voice on the council. How do the people who you represent, local residents, how do they feel about you? Obviously, they elected you. What's your relationship with them?
Well, I hope it's good. I like to think it's good. Yeah, it's like you say, the ward I represent is the most deprived ward in the whole of South Tyneside.
Yeah.
And because people know, or a lot of people know, that I grew up on the ward and I still live on the ward, and the life I've got, I think it makes us more approachable.
Yeah.
You know, and I know what a lot of them have been going through, or what they are going through.
Yeah.
And I really want to help people. You know, I want people to have a better standard of life, and I do really care.
A lot of people who have to grow up in that sort of a situation with relatively fewer opportunities in life because of the differences between, you know, the rich and poor in society, I guess, are very tempted into the reform narrative. So what would you say to people about those issues?
It's very divisive. It's like spreading, in my view, hate and division, you know. It should all be about cohesion and getting along together and helping each other. I would always go back to what I've said to other people, where you've got to see the individual who's standing as your councillor.
Yeah.
What have they been doing for the last couple of years to help your area? What kind of people are they? Have you spoke with them face to face?
Yeah.
What are the ambitions? What are the aims? How are they going to try and help you? Look at all those things. What's going to affect you on your day-to-day life? I don't know a single person currently from reform, and I try to keep my finger on the pulse with things in South Tyneside, and nobody knows who they are. How can anyone possibly say reform's going to win in South Tyneside when there's not a single name known? No one's doing anything.
People are being encouraged to vote for a candidate not based on the things you've been talking about, their record of hard work in the community, but instead on the back of this sort of outrage. messaging. Just going to move things on slightly now. You've been very busy. Youth provision, SEND support, green belt protection, housing, trans rights, animal rights, tree campaigns. If you had to put a flag in the ground, what's the battle you're fighting hardest right now?
It is non-stop, but the biggest thing's probably going to be the local plan.
Right. This is the document that councils use that determine how they make planning decisions. So anything to do with making a planning application, the decision is based on the policies in the local plan.
That's right. So I was involved with that, putting comments, objections, changes, all this. And so this has been like years in the making.
Yeah.
The examination in public started earlier this year. I spoke at that with the independent inspector from the government who's appointed. Now it's going to the next phase, and I'm again going to be one of a few Green Party councillors who will be speaking at that. It's about just trying to help the environment, help society better. I would love not to have to build so many houses, quite frankly, but the government are forcing this housing figure on South Tyneside.
Yeah.
So the officers are in a very difficult position. And now my understanding is it's going to be trying to make the best of this local plan and trying to save as much green belt as possible.
Yeah.
And trying to get more social housing on it.
Absolutely. It seems to me that the housing developers have done a really good job of lobbying government to get their way. So tell me a little bit about South Tyneside Tree Action Group and why protecting mature trees became a big part of your mission.
Yeah, this is something I'm really passionate about. I mean, I've loved trees forever. I got an H&D in arboriculture back in 2002.
Right.
And so I've got that experience behind us. And I was seeing trees getting felled along pavement for the new Flags Are Flexible programme in South Tyneside. Well, I say new. This was in about 2017 it started. And I got in touch with the council and I said, the trees are getting cut down, healthy, mature trees. Why? And they were saying, it's for the new tarmac paths. So I got together with a couple of other people and we formed South Tyneside Tree Action Group. And it's to raise awareness and try and save as many mature trees as possible in South Tyneside. And we've had some great successes where we've worked with the council. I got a lot of information from Sheffield Tree Action Group.
Yeah.
The organisers there, we spent a lot of time on the phone. They were giving us advice on how to go about things. So with the council tree officers back in 2018-19, they started putting tree pits around the trees, and you can see that on Mortimer Road, and they kept some of the trees that had been scheduled to be felled there. And so using these engineering solutions, they're keeping more and more trees. We had a good success as well for the South Tyneside College site, because South Tyneside College is being sold to Avant, and they're going to be demolishing that and felling 143 trees with tree preservation orders on to make way for 260 homes.
So they're felling trees with TPOs already on them?
Because planning permission pips the TPOs, so they're going to be felled. So we have actually tried to get in touch with Avant as councillors, and I've got the ward councillors as well wanting to do that, to try and save a couple of the ones on the main street.
So this is the failure of the planning system. So you've got a bunch of houses being built that aren't needed, and to build those houses you're destroying a whole load of trees that are needed.
Yes, yeah. And they were going to be felling all the ones along Grosvenor Road just to demolish the college. So myself and other people from South Tyneside Tree Action Group got in touch with the BBC. Some campaigners set up a petition and it got signed by over 5,000 residents as well to save the trees. And Avant agreed to save all the trees along Grosvenor Road. And there's some absolutely stunning trees along there as well. These are really, really beautiful trees. And again, it wasn't because the houses were going to be there. It was just to allow demolition of a nearby building and erect fencing. So 13 mature trees are going to be felled to allow to erect fencing.
It's just so easy to disregard trees nowadays.
Yeah.
I'm going to move you on to a different thing that I know you're interested and have been working within, and that's SEND provision. So as a mother, not just a counsellor, what changes do you want to see for families like yours in terms of SEND provision?
Yeah, I would love to see EHCPs, the whole process streamlined. Everything takes years and years to get your diagnosis, then to get, help at school. You've got to do all these other things first with inclusion services, with this, and then eventually in the EHCP. And it's years and years that children aren't getting the right support and they're missing out. And I would love to see all that streamlined. And
I couldn't agree with you more.
It's a big worry.
You mentioned people loving the visibility of greens, doing ward walkabouts, litter picks, that sort of thing. Do you think that sort of physical presence, proactive role in the community, do you think that's important in local politics?
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt. So many residents have come to me and said, you know, I love seeing you walking around and checking things, and they come out the house and they talk to us and they get involved on ward walkabouts and that, and they say, it's really nice, but it's worrying that people are saying that's happened for the first time, you know, since I've become a councillor. Now we've got Chris Davies on the ward who does a great job as well.
They didn't see that sort of thing happening prior to you becoming a councillor.
That's what I'm told. And I think as well, I use Facebook and social media as well to show what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And because I think people need to see that, because just to be this constant presence in the ward, that you are there and you are doing stuff and you're proactive, you know, we do care, we're all bothered, and we are doing these
things. I think when it comes to local politics, it is so important to be listening to what people say are their priorities and then getting stuck in on the ground to try and resolve those issues.
Yeah. That's almost a bread and butter, isn't it? Being a councillor, and I'd put myself forward to be a councillor for the real big issues, you know.
Yeah.
But then day to day, it's the things where you're helping people with a housing issue.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a homelessness thing. Sometimes it's potholes, street litter. There's so many different things, but these are things that matter in the day-to-day lives.
I don't know about you, but it gives me a lot of satisfaction to engage with those
things. It really
things.
does, yeah. Because it's lovely to know that by you having that input, you've improved that person's life so much.
Life a little bit easier.
Yeah, it's really rewarding.
Not everything's easy to fix, though. Sometimes things can be very frustrating and take a long time. What is something you tried to fix but found it harder than you expected? So that moment when you realise that the machine moves a lot slower than the community actually expects.
There's a few things. I mean, we've had some empty buildings on the ward.
Yeah.
We've had the Pickwick. It's an old pub that's been empty for well over 10 years.
So it's become a bit of a derelict eyesore.
Yes.
Right.
And it's right in the middle of quite a dense housing estate.
Yeah.
And it's just been something that the residents have been wanting sorting for long before I become a councillor.
Yeah.
And it's been going through the legal channels.
Yeah.
And that just really slowed everything down. And it was something that people were always getting on to ward councillors about. And then now we've got the same with another pub on the estate as well.
Right.
So it's only been empty for maybe about a year, but it's already become a real blight for antisocial behaviour, fly tipping. Just doesn't look very nice, and it's right as you first come to the estate as well, off the John Reed Road. So hopefully that's going to soon be improved.
You
but
just
all
need
these
to keep
things,
pushing, don't you? But I totally get it. It can take a long time with things like that.
Yeah, a lot of residents think as a councillor you can just get these things sorted.
Yeah.
And you really can't.
Yeah.
They have to go through the legal routes.
Yes, indeed.
You can, of course, keep inquiring and speaking with residents to update them, but you have little more power than that, really.
So, Rachael, if everything goes well for you over the next few years, what's your vision for the longer term future of where you live?
Well, I would love really good community facilities for the area. I would love to protect the open space and green spaces. I would love to just improve the roads, the footpaths. I would love the community to feel like the welcome and everyone is getting along, and there's that cohesion on the estate and within the ward. I would just love more investment in the ward and in the right decisions made for the people who live in the ward.
So you've got that worker bee sort of community lion energy, I think. What would you say to someone listening who thinks they might make a good councillor but is doubting themselves?
I would say go for it. You know, I would encourage everyone who's got that caring and kind and passionate good heart to do it, because you can make a difference, and it takes people for the pure reasons to come into politics to improve it for the community, you know. And it's something that I'm finding really rewarding and really good, because you're on the front line, you know, you're affecting things on a grassroots level. Being a councillor, it's not MPs in the House of Commons making these decisions, it's day-to-day things as a councillor, and you can have a real positive impact on people's lives. And without greens in the room, nothing's going to improve for nature. And it's really important now, in the midst of a climate emergency and an ecological emergency, to keep pushing the green agenda. Everything's a learning curve, really, but it's really important to put yourself out there.
I couldn't agree more. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Rachael Taylor there, leading with the kind of courage politics desperately needs. If her story has sparked something in you, share the episode, get involved locally, or take that first small step into activism. If you enjoyed this, hit like, subscribe, and share it with someone who cares about their community. This is Greens Rising. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.